Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to Factorio. We are going to be continuing the Tight Spot campaign today. The playtime here is, it's a lie. Don't be fooled. We did not spend 8 hours on this one map so far. The time is sped up when you click start and move it at 24 times speed. That does count towards this playtime, so that's why that number is so high. So it's a brand new day. Hopefully that means we have brand new ideas or ways to fix this. I did check our old map on normal mode to see how we did it, and we did it very differently. I was right. We did do a lot of smelting up here. We brought it down. Steel smelting was here, and then we just brought it through, and then we did solar panels right here. We had a lot less smelting going on, and normal mode is 10K, and I think we're almost there at 10K right now as it is, but. Another 8K, and we were just on the dot last time, so the last solution wasn't good enough, but it was a lot cleaner, I would say. But this is what we have, and we're going to continue working on this. We're not going to try to copy what we did last time. Let's try to work with what we have. Another interesting thing was we were only working on one set of boiler steam engines. And apparently that was good enough. But here we have double, so you can see how much more that we have compared to the other one. So let's just start this and remember what the problem was. It should be the steel. Steel is our main issue, I believe. Here's a halfway point about. And in this case, it's actually the circuits. That's the issue. Because we took away this mining here in an attempt to see if we could get this going. Alright, so this is free real estate here, so I'm gonna put our furnace back here. I might not put two. I think just another set of 2 miners. I mean, I might not put 2 miners. I'm just gonna put one and try to fit the furnaces on here. That way we won't use up that much stuff over here. So let's do that. Oh, still going. There we go. Okay, so we could do 38, huh? That's pretty expensive. Could do something like this. We'll have these belts here, and then we'll just move it down through here. That would save us some money. So let's do that. Alternatively, we could try to flip this, put the miner over here, and then put the furnace on the other side. That might be smarter. Have to move that though. Alright, so we've run into our issue now. What we could do is we could output it this way and just connect it to this belt. I think that's acceptable. The problem here becomes this belt becomes like this, you know. It's not necessarily the best solution because there's only one furnace compared to the 8 here. We don't want this to be like this. We'd rather have it, this one being added to this. Could do that. I think this is fine. But another issue that we've been running into before was our electricity woes. We're using up too much electricity. Right here is where probably most of our electricity is coming through. Though, you know, we are using a ton of inserters, so that's also an issue here. But these are fast inserters and assembly machine level 2s, you know, so there's that. Let's see. Well, we'll just try this for now. I'm not set on keeping it as is for now, but now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm gonna have to put another belt this way, this is just simply not worth it, I think. So what we could do is try to rearrange our copper here. I think we can get it simply like this, you know? That accomplishes with what we had before. Real gamers play Tetris. Well, you want to play Tetris? we need to figure this out. You should try this out too. This is a pretty fun map. You're trying to get the required balance here by selling solar panels, and you pay for what you need in here, and that's why I have a balance of negative 48,000. I mean, if you want to, we can play Tetris until for like an hour. Because people who generally come are come on a little bit later. Let's see. I'm just still struggling here though. I am not sure what you mean, but all right. So we could do this. We can just add another 2. We'll have to use some belts here to bring this down, but I think this is probably preferable to what we had before. It's a little bit more straightforward, at least. So let's do that. We'll see how this pans out. And well, actually, let's check on the real estate. So this is 38 each. This is 30. So this is cheaper over here. So that's good. This is the Tight Spot campaign. It's part of the vanilla campaign maps that come with the game. But no one ever does it because it's, you know, people just jump into the free maps, or they do the first campaign and they're like, okay, we're good, let's keep going. And because this is pretty different from normal play. But I like this. Although it's very taxing because these are pretty difficult. And if they're not difficult, they're time consuming. Okay, so we have the 3 here, and that's that. So let's make sure that we're back on steel. Oops. We're back having steel issues. Let's see, we want... Oh, we can get rid of that. That's nice. Build it. Keep pressing escape to get out of this, but that's not the right button. There you go. Okay, so we are back to being steel deprived. We have our copper set up and we have our circuits, it looks like. Actually, we're good. We're kind of good to go. This guy's circuits deprived again, but steel seems okay. Like Lemonade Tycoon. How old are you? Jeez. Yeah. But it's Factorio based. So basically, I didn't explain it all the way, I guess. You sell solar panels. These are the only things you can get money from, and you have to sell them by putting them into this chest. So, and that's that. So we're back. So it looks like we're actually good. It looks like, in terms of making steel, which is surprising because that's been our problem this whole time. We're making electronic circuits at the fastest rate that we can, it looks like, because this is backed up. Our iron is backed up, so it has all the ingredients that it needs. The only issue here is our electricity, and that's going to be our limiting factor. I don't know how much that's going to bring us down, but you can see it's struggling. I get to set the price? I do not. No, this is basically, let's see. That's how you get to it. So this is what you start out with. Walls, when you pick them up, you lose money for them. And they're worth more the further it is away from the center. So you can see this is like 50. This is 1. And then you're given some allowance to buy what you need. And you just have to set it up in such a way where you get solar panels into the chest and you get 600 each. You have 12 minutes to do so. Once you press start, the map is going to go automatically. You cannot change it from that point, and it'll go for 12 minutes, and then you have to get the required amount. So it looks like our main issue now is electricity. Because we don't know how much this is affecting, but we can definitely tell that you can see this guy's in yellow all the time, which means that when they don't have enough electricity, they work slower, and that's not what we want. We want these guys to work at max efficiency here. All of our furnaces seem to be working just fine. We do have sometimes where they're not working, that's perfectly fine with me. So let's figure out electricity. We have this wonky setup because we can't afford, or we couldn't get the coal in the right spot. But I think it's time to fix this properly because I think this should be enough. Again, on the normal map that we did, just having the one set was good enough. We basically doubled it. I don't think we've doubled the cost, but maybe we have. So I think if we optimize this a little bit better, then we might be able to get the electricity we need. So if that's the case, where are we going to put our electricity? Here's an open spot, but we definitely don't want to put it there. That's too far away. Remember, we need to keep it by water because we're going to need to put water into the boilers. And I can't do this because I need the coal inserted into here, and otherwise we won't have enough coal to power it and get the electricity. So even though this would be pretty much ideal, almost, can't do that. We could attempt to use burner mining drills because they use up less space than the electric. They're about, I don't know, what, 2/3 the size. But the problem here is that these mine slower, so you get less coal out of them. And they also cost coal to use. And we're also running on not too much coal. We had it set up like this before, 600 and 300, and the one that had 300 would run out by the 12 minutes. So this is not satisfactory here. Looks like we can get enough coal doing this, having it set up like this. Do a setup like this and then bring pipes to these guys. That's theoretically something we could do. We cannot remove this tree. So that's an issue. We could put it here. Or like this, even. Let's have a set of 4 going this way. That's something that we can do because underground belts exist. So it costs a lot, but you know, could do something like that. Should stream Minesweeper. I don't think I'm pro enough to stream Minesweeper. All the viewers would yell, laugh at me for being so noob. Okay, so this is the nicer setup than we had. We won't run out of coal this way. So I think this is acceptable. Let's check and see if this is gonna run out on us. Problem here is the water. As you can see, we don't have access to this setup properly, so we'll have to do that. Alright, that seems acceptable. It's not great. And in the end, we're using up more real estate, but I think we might be able to get more electricity out of it, which is the main problem we were having. So let's try this. We're going to give it some startup coal, and let's go. And what we're looking for is to make sure that these guys have electricity at all times and coal at all times. So as you can see, we're actually green now at all times. So it does look like our setup last time was wonky enough to mess up the energy delivery. And this is much better. And we're back to being, well, we're having a mix. Like this isn't getting enough steel, and this isn't getting enough electronic circuits. But we're 3K out, and that's pretty decent. Because we haven't put our walls back yet, so we might be able to make enough money there. I don't think we're going to be able to make 20K from putting back walls, but we'll get like 14 or so K, if I remember correctly. I think I want to check that out real quick, just to see how close we are in reality. We're just going to save it so I can reload that instead of having to pick up all the walls again. Alright, there we go. So let's check this one, see how we're doing. I don't expect that we will make our goal, but I'm hopeful we'll be around the 18K that we need. As you can see, we're having a backup of copper and circuits on this. And then that changes, which is strange, but... So we're actually 6K away. I didn't actually see the real number I was looking up here, but we're around 6K away. That's not too bad. Let me get the real number instead of the estimate. As you can see, our main issue here is the steel. It's kind of odd that this backup goes away over time. That's really strange. Okay, 5.87K. So we're gonna reload this. So this is the same map. We just don't have the walls here anymore. Okay. So our main issue is still the steel. Let's stop her halfway and we'll get a good idea of what's going on here. So I think what's happening is that beginning game, we're not getting enough iron to saturate both of these at the same time, so that means that the circuits are backing up. But once the steel is back online, then we're making more solar panels, and then that's why we have this back under control. Okay, so these are making pretty evenly. This is 30 and this is 22, so that's good. I do have this set here where we can put another assembly machine. I don't think that's going to help us at all because what we'd like is to have these guys working full time, and they aren't before we put in a third one. So if we look at our iron here, you can see that we have a backup here, no backup here. These guys aren't working because they're not connected. I know that. But it does look like all of our furnaces are working except for this last one almost all the time. So that means that we're getting enough throughput to cover this. What we might want to consider is actually changing to fast belts right here. It will help this guy last in line get more, because you can see these guys are up to their buffer. Alternatively, I could change these into fast splitters. That might be a better change than these into red belts. I think I'm going to turn this guy inward so that it doesn't get to this side. I'd rather keep this on the belt because I know that this should work almost all of the time, just like these two should work most of the time. We are using the majority of the ore that comes down. These guys are being backed up because it's not equal to this. So maybe we would like to change this. And see if we can put another furnace down. Could put a steel furnace here, or we could put an iron furnace. Both would be helpful for what we're doing here. But the issue is still the same. We don't have enough steel at all times. Let me try to figure out how wires work. Because if we can program these in such a way where it doesn't look for the buffer, and once it's working, these inserters stop working, I think that will help us a lot. So let me attempt to... Okay, no. Just kidding. That's not how this works, apparently. I have no idea how wires work. Enable, disable, read hand contents, enabled condition. No idea. So it looks like I can turn it off and on. But I really want to connect it to this assembly machine because I want to make sure that when this is working, I don't want these to be working. And I have no idea how to do that here. I don't understand how this works. Because I don't think I have any research done. So I'm not picking up stacks. So this is kind of worthless, I think. Maybe. Again, I don't know how these work, so I could be wrong. Signals? Excuse me? I have no idea what this is. So we don't have anything other than just the wires. So I think this is basically all I can do. If I understand this correctly, this will turn on or off when it has less than 0, which is actually impossible. So now we have it less than or equal to 0, which again, I think these don't have stacks, so I don't think that actually helps us. Because they should only be picking up one at a time anyways. So if it doesn't have anything in its hands, it should be working either way. Signals send continuously as long as the inserter is holding the item. One tick when the item is picked up. Cool. I mean, obviously they intend that some people would have used this, so it should be useful for something. Because otherwise they wouldn't have it in the set here. Problem is, I don't know how they work. And I also don't know how to pick it up, so I'm just gonna pick these up and put them back down. Because I don't want to lose that 2 GP that I spent on them. Alright. I really do think that would help us if we got the wires going. Because I would like to turn it off when this is running, because that means that it won't pick up any extras. And if it doesn't pick up any extras, aka the buffer system, that will go straight to this one, and then this can be working at the same time as this one. The way that this currently works, unfortunately, is as you can see, this guy has 2, this guy has 3. If we have it set where one of them is not on when one of them is not working, or something like that. If we have the conditions set, ideally we would have it so they would be spread across both of these evenly, and that way one wouldn't have more circuits than the other, one wouldn't have more steel than the other, and then they wouldn't be waiting for different things all the time. Unfortunately, they're not helping me here with the numbers, but you can see before that one wouldn't have the right amount of circuits, would have the right amount of steel, and then this wouldn't have the right amount of. It would have the right amount of steel, circuits, but not the right amount of steel, and they were kind of opposite each other. But it looks like right now it's working fine as is. Though, if possible, we would like to turn this guy off until this guy had 5, and then turn this guy back on. That way we wouldn't have this limbo where they both have 2. You know, that's exactly opposite of what I was saying earlier, but, you know, conditionals, that's how I would like that to work. Yeah, so you can see around the 6-minute mark, this starts getting piled up. So that means before then, no problem. So again, our main issue is still, we're not making enough steel. I wish I could fix this with wires, but I just don't know how. So, how are we going to make enough steel? All of these are making iron. These are making steel. These 2 are not working. We have iron coming down this line. Half of them are being input into circuits, and then the rest are being put into these over here. What I think I might want to do is actually do the opposite, because right now we have half going here and then half going here, and that's not what we want. We actually want like 75% going here, and then the rest going to here, because this gets backed up pretty easily, I think. So we're gonna play around a little bit with the splitters and see if that helps us in any way. And we can just do it like this, maybe. Hang on. I'm trying to think about this. We can't actually put this here because the iron's coming up this way. So we'd like the majority of our iron to go up this line, this particular line. We don't want it to go this way because there's less furnaces. We want it here, if possible. So how are we going to do that? We can, every time we do this, we basically halve the belt. So half is going on this belt, half is going on this belt. So we know that this backs up, and we don't want to send out too many, because 25% was enough for this. So in the end, it looks like we're just going to keep it the same. Yeah, I guess what we had was the best that we could do. Can't actually think of another way to split this up. Because, so we have 50% this on this line, 25% on this line, 25% on this line. What we'd like to have is 25%, 25%, 50%. So to do that, we need to split it here, and then split this guy, the resulting half and half. Okay, so let's try to think it through. Split it here. We want this guy to go through. So this is 50% right here. And then from here, we want this guy. We want that to go there, and then we want this one to go over here. So that is a little difficult with how we have this set up. We can't put the splitter back any too far. We could move it. We could just move this belt this way. I guess we'll do that. Okay, so now we have... Okay, I think I see how this could work. We'll just need to move this down a little bit, and then there we go. We have that, and that. Actually don't have enough room. Never mind. We'd have to be creative with underground belts, and that's very costly. I think the answer here is just to make more instead of messing around with this. Because what we'd want to do, again, 50% down this line, then we'd have a splitter, have an underground belt, and then do that. I guess we could move this down. Okay, that works. So that does work. Okay, so we've achieved what we wanted. We've had to use more underground belts for it, but let's check her out. See how it flies. So far, it's not the worst. It does look like this is not backing up how we want it to, though. Unfortunately. Let's slow her down, and that we can see if this is getting the iron it needs to when it needs to. And it does look like there's actually no stopping point here. These guys are working pretty much constantly. So it does look like we're actually pretty perfect here. It's hard to tell because I can't actually click on these guys and check. But as you can see, like, this guy is moving, you know, whenever it has to. This guy is always constantly moving, pretty much. There's a little bit of stuttering, but it seems to be working out fine. And we do have a backup of steel here. So it looks like the main issue is actually circuits. Again. But I think this is good. Because you can see that the steel is good to go. I don't know. It's hard to tell. This is exactly the part where I would say, hey, I wish that I could turn off this assembly machine or this inserter when it had the 15 it needed to start the next round instead of going to 30. Because if I could make it stop at 15, which is what it needs to make a solar panel, I can make it go over here, and then this will have enough to make it. But again, I don't know how the wires work. I'm assuming that's how I can do this. Let's try it out. We can do some trial and error. The problem is that, see, I can't attach it to the assembly machine, so that's what I thought was gonna work. You know, you attach the inserter to the assembly machine. As far as I know, the color doesn't matter. So I don't think having a green wire will change this. And I don't know how the conditionals work here. I can attach it to the pole. So I guess I could turn off the pole or something. I don't know. See, I don't know how the signals work. If anyone knows, please let me know, but I would love to turn this inserter off when when it had transferred over 15 on the new cycle. Stack size, again, I don't think matters because I don't have any research as far as I know, so I'm only transferring one at a time. So this doesn't actually help. And sending a signal doesn't mean anything, I think, if I'm not connecting it to anything else. So I think if I could set this to how I'd like it, we would do much better. Unfortunately, I just don't know. So we're going to figure something else out. So next thing I want to try out is taking away one steam engine. Because again, on the last map, we were doing fine with 3. We were doing fine with 2. And now that we set it up in this configuration, this works a lot better than it did previously. So maybe we can get away with 3 again. So let's try that out. And that is not the case. We definitely need the 4. So that's not too terrible. I mean, it's good to see confirmation that we need that. So just trying to think what we can improve here. So in our current state, we need more circuits. And we need more circuits via more iron, perhaps. This does look like it's working pretty much full time, but there is a small amount of time where it's not working. So that means that these aren't at quote unquote full efficiency. Because you can see the status on the right side here. It says it flickers between working and the shortage. So that means that you know, it's not working full time. So that means that we can try to siphon some of this iron to over here. So let's do that. All we have to do is add an inserter. Oops. Excuse me. And I mean a splitter. So currently, we're pretty much back at where we started, but with a more complicated setup and more money used. We have 50% going this way because we have 25% through here, and we have 25% through here. This is a 50% line, so it's can we do circuits here? I don't know what I would hook it up to. Well, let's try this out. It shouldn't make any difference compared to what we had before. In fact, it's a lot worse because we have 2 parts of buildup instead of the 1 before. And as you can see, there's no buildup here anymore. What we could do is like have an out here, have it a throughput, and bring this back around to the circuits. That way anything that doesn't get picked up by these guys gets used by the circuits, and then we wouldn't have to have the splitter. We could do that, but then it'd just be pretty wonky, and I don't think that'll work. So I don't know what to do here. I'll check on this over here, see if that gets backed up. Surprisingly, that doesn't get backed up at all. Oh, okay. Near the end it does. That's alright. So I'm just trying to figure out how we could fix this. We could have this, we could split her off right here and have these guys working again, and then have the runoff come back to the circuits, which is kind of what I was saying before, but maybe a little bit more practical. I don't know if this works. Do they actually pick up from splitters? It does. Okay. So we can do that. So let's try this. I don't really expect this to work very well, but we can try it. We'll just move this guy over. Okay, so how we currently have it is we have iron coming up through here. It'll be split off here. That'll enter these guys if it's extra. And then all of the rest of that will come back down into the circuit area. So that will prevent this from backing up so far. It'll stop. Basically, furthest it can back up is to this point. So I think it should be a small improvement. I don't think it's going to be a lot, but we can test it out. And maybe I was wrong. So we have steel, and we're still waiting on our circuits on this side. But it does seem like it's doing okay. We're not having the huge backup that we did before. Let's continue it down the line. And there's no backup whatsoever, which is very interesting. We do have a backup of steel. So that means at this point, maybe I could get rid of one of these two, or maybe even both of them, and then we'll have, we can check on the equilibrium here that we have between the circuits and the steel. Copper, it's never a problem, really. We might actually want to consider getting rid of these guys, because this is real estate we don't want to necessarily use. And it's also eating up how this is being delivered due to this setup right here. Okay, so let's get rid of one of them and see how that goes. Again, ideally here, we'd like these guys to be working full-time and not having any shortage whatsoever. Excuse me. You can see it's still having some shortage. Probably like half the time it has a shortage. But we actually have a buildup now. So we might actually want to change these into fast inserters. But this shortage is actually due to the inserter itself, it looks like, not a supply issue. Because you can see that this is backed up, which means it's backed up over here. That's very interesting. That means that these are working, or these are creating circuits so quickly that it's limited by this inserter. I had not considered that. I had thought the inserters would be fast enough, but maybe that was our problem the whole time. So let's do that. The reason I didn't have it before, these on fast inserters, was because 1, it didn't look like it was being backed up. 2, it cost us more money. 3, it cost us more electricity. And electricity seems to be doing fine now, so I guess that's not a problem anymore. You can see that these guys are pretty much working a lot more than they were previously. Because before I would switch between working and shortage really fast. Now a lot of the time it's on working. So that's something. And we are backed up on steel. Well, for this guy at least. So this is one of those situations where I was trying to talk about before, where this guy doesn't have enough circuits, this guy doesn't have enough steel. So if I could use circuit wires to fix this, that would be great, but... Alright, okay, let's slow it down to 1 times and see how the distribution of this iron works. It looks like we're okay. We'd like to have a little bit more iron coming through here, if possible. So we might want to actually get rid of this, because this guy isn't working full time. And neither is this guy, really. And we're okay on steel. Not the best, but okay. You might actually want to consider changing the order of this, because you can see that sometimes it didn't have enough steel, and there was steel on the belt, but it wasn't able to pick it up because it's past where this was. So I'm gonna change this. This shouldn't matter on the circuit front because we're picking up all the circuits that we need. So I'm hoping that this will help. I might even go as far as to do this. I think this might help us out a little bit more. That means that pretty much all the steel that's going to be on this belt is going to be used, versus before we had some backup even though it needed it. Right, so let's test this out. Gonna wait till the 6-minute mark, that was halfway. So we can get a better picture of what's going on. And as you can see, we still have a little bit of backup, but it's less than before, which is good to see. Once again, we're limited by our circuits. But these guys are... This guy's having more trouble. It looks like this guy's actually more on shortage than it is working, because this guy's eating up most of it. So we might actually want to consider having this guy being a yellow inserter and this guy being a fast inserter. Or we could get rid of this guy. So let's get rid of this guy before we do the other thing. And now we're actually backed up on circuits again. Isn't that funny? The equilibrium between these two things are just so slight, where having the extra iron from this furnace go into here and having no steel being made here creates this backup. These guys actually have its backed up so much that I can't place on the track. And we're still waiting on the steel. But it's not backed up to the point where the iron's getting backed up, which is very, very interesting. Let's continue on. Let's see if we can siphon off any more iron that we could. Okay, so now we're getting backed up here, near the end. And that's because this is full. So one way we could fix that is just add a splitter right here, and that would keep the circuits, have the second line, just not half, it'd be full. And that would make this keep on going. Okay. So I think this is better than before. I think having the circuits is good. There's less wait time between the circuits versus the steel, I believe, because when we're short on circuits, they're waiting for 15 circuits. When we're waiting on steel, they're waiting for 5 steel. And these guys are working full time, so it's not like it's a huge difference in time, I think, between the two. Steel takes 16 seconds to make. Okay, now that I look at the numbers, it's actually faster to get 15 circuits than it is to get 5 steel plates. Well, alright. I don't know what to say to that. I'm gonna put this guy back and I'm gonna change this into a yellow inserter. We'll see what the difference here on that is. This is actually not bad. This guy's working full time. This guy is working half time. But the steel is there. This guy's working full time though. That's... We couldn't say that before, really. So if anybody actually want to try to do the same thing, change this into a fast insert, slow inserter, and this into a fast one, that might be a tipping point here, because that means that this won't be picking up every single circuit that goes through, and then this one will. So maybe that way we can get more of this working at the same time. That is at the trade-off that this guy's not going to be working full-time because this is so slow. But I gotta say, look at this. This is actually very even. I think this might be it, guys. This might be what we needed. This difference of inserters. You can see they're splitting the circuits pretty evenly between the two. And the product's finished, if you look at that number there, 29 versus 37. I think that's fairly close. We'll switch this back into a fast inserter and check those numbers again in a second. So we got 40. I wish I could click on these. Let's try to get the numbers on what these two are so we can have a quantitative analysis here. I'm going to try to get close to the end. Okay, so at 11, let's say 11:30, we have 29 versus and 31. 39 and 31. 39 and 31. Let's change this into a fast inserter and see what the number changes. 39 and 31. Okay, let's slow her down a little bit. Okay, so we have 44 and 24. Okay, so that actually doesn't matter then. They actually make pretty much the same amount. That's actually very interesting to me. So if I change this into a fast inserter, that makes it so they're more even. It's more evenly spread, but it doesn't actually increase or decrease the amount that they make. That's very interesting. Let's see what happens if we add a third assembly machine. So we're making around 70 total whenever we do this. Let's see if we add this third one, what happens. I suspect that we'll be making less because we're splitting all the resources, but who knows, right? You know, might as well check it. I've been proven wrong before in thinking logically. Alright, so 31, 26, and 14. This actually makes more. 40, 30, 71. Okay, it's about the same. I think it's a little bit slower, but it's about the same. That's very interesting to me. Because you would think that spreading all of our resources around would lead to more downtime in the machines itself. And that's because each of these machines take up a buffer system, or take up a buffer for the next round of producing. So there's no downtime between loading and taking out. So that means there's a lot of dead product, quote unquote dead product, in each one of them, where the other two could be using that product at the same time. It's very strange to me to think that if I put 3 here, we make the same amount, versus if I put 2. Okay, having 1 should definitely be less, right? But let's check it out. This is definitely less because we have all this excess, as you can see, and this is actual dead product. But if this is around 70, then I just don't know anything about this game anymore. Okay, it's 45, so so that's confirmed not as optimal. So the only reason we wouldn't put 3 here now is just because, you know, it's cheaper. So we're not going to do that.